Welcome back, tribe. I have an episode here from All Asian Dilemmas, small channel. The regret of the first wave of women who remained single.
My name is Xiaoyun, and this year I've always been and never married. Now I can't find her, and this stress.
What is going on in
All
China?
of my class and relatives are already married. At work, people are always, I feel like I'm on the verge because I don't think it's my fault that I haven't married.
And here we go. Okay, whose fault is it, dear?
I've always longed to have my own family. People around me are constantly pointing fingers at me, and some even look down on me, saying that I'm an older leftover woman and that I probably have fertility issues. Who would want to marry someone like that? Not long ago, when I went to sign up at a marriage agency, many men said, we'd rather find a divorced woman with kids than an unmarried 39-year-old.
Golly.
Now, I'm really anxious because I'm almost 40, and I still don't have a partner. I feel like there's no hope left in my life.
I work in a public institution, and the job is relatively stable. I've had several relationships in the past, but they all ended in breakups. Today, after a long time of hesitation and internal struggle, I finally gathered the courage to talk to you about my 40 years of ups and downs in love and the regrets I have. Let's start from when I was 20 years old. Back then, I was still in university, and while doing a part-time job off campus, I met and started dating a boy. We shared common interests, and that's how we got together. At that time, it really felt like love, and we were together for 3 years. Those were some of the most beautiful and innocent memories of my life.
What happened?
His family lived in a remote mountainous area of a small county. His
sounds poor. Yep.
parents were farmers, and he had 2 older brothers. The 5 of them lived in a shabby house that was just a few dozen square meters. Every time I visited, I felt a sense of oppression staying in that small space. Winters were cold and damp, but despite the harsh environment, it didn't stop the sweetness, happiness, and joy I felt being with him. One afternoon, quite unexpectedly, after watching a movie together, he suddenly pulled out a large bouquet of roses in front of dozens of people and proposed to me. In that moment, I felt scared rather than surprised. I panicked and refused him, pushing through the crowd and running away. I don't even remember how far or how long I ran, but by the time I got back to my dorm, the sky was already light. After that, I cried in my dorm for 2 whole days.
Wow.
He didn't have a house, and his family situation wasn't good.
You see, let me pause it right there. Red pill perspective. He didn't have a house and his family situation wasn't good. End of story. You have to get your shit together before you pursue women, because this is what happens. All the time that dude invested, all the little money he had, by the time he was ready to propose, because he didn't have a house and his family situation wasn't good, because his shit wasn't in order, she got scared instead of saying yes. This happens in the West too.
Even though he treated me well and I really liked him, I couldn't imagine us getting married, having children.
Do you see? Don't feel bad for these guys. They do it to themselves. It's not delusional standards. Yes, a lot of them are delusional, but simply owning your own house before marrying a woman is pretty common. You want to have your finances in order as a man, be able to support a family. If you're going to get down on one knee and ask a woman to marry you, you're probably going to go into this for children. Duh.
And living in a rented house. So I broke up with him. Looking back, that might have been the closest I ever got to love. At 25, I graduated with a master's degree from a 211 university in Shanghai and found a decent and stable job in Shenzhen. A colleague's sister introduced me to a local boy in Shenzhen. He had good financial standing, owned a car and a house, and worked as a buyer in a large company.
See, so this one is now her prized possession she let slip through her fingers. Works in the same city, had a good job, had his own house, and what happened here? Here's where she messed up.
With a decent salary. When we first met, I thought he was a bit short, a bit chubby, and not particularly handsome.
You see, and not handsome. So the guy that she doesn't actually like, that is short, chubby, not handsome at all, happens to have all the material things she's looking for. So this is the conundrum women are in. They'll meet the quote Chad, her first man probably, who had the handsome looks and the personality, but none of the material possessions, so he doesn't fit the bill for a family and stable future. Then she meets a chubby, short, not particularly handsome dude that has great material possessions for a stable future home and children, but she just doesn't like him because he's ugly. You can't negotiate attraction. You have to have both. So it's brutal, but women wait at the finish line and pick the winners. It's always been a thing in Mother Nature across all animal kingdom.
Handsome. The only advantage was that he had money. His financial situation was much better than mine.
Yep.
I thought that if I married him, I could also get a Shenzhen household registration.
Jesus.
He often took me out for meals, bought me branded bags, and gave me jewelry.
You see why simping gets you nowhere? Can't negotiate attraction. Here they are telling you.
His parents also liked me and were easy to get along with, so I went ahead with it. However, after 6 months of dating, I realized that we had a lot of differences. He never understood me, nor did he consider things from my perspective.
Translation. I just wasn't attracted to him, and 6 months was all I could take. I wasn't getting piped up correctly, and I was looking at other men that were more handsome and probably had just as much money. Why can't I have those men, the top percentile men that have it all?
We often fought, and I felt like I didn't love him enough to tolerate him. The emotional distance.
Tolerate him. I want you guys to pay very close attention because this is what's happening wholesale in the West. Most of you guys are in relationships with women that tolerate you. You're negotiating attraction by trying to buy her shit, taking her out to fancy places, trying to negotiate your attractiveness to her by doing things for her. Most of you are in this position. I hate to say it, but this 80% divorce statistic, it stems from this exact thing. 80% of marriages are women tolerating the guy because he puts her in a better financial position. I can change your life, baby. How many of these simps outright say that shit? Now, the 20% of men that I've met that were type A personalities, successful, took care of their bodies, put themselves first, had boundaries, all that shit. Yeah, all the stuff we yap about. They had the submissive, feminine, friendly women that were catering to them, had the gender roles clearly defined, boundaries clearly set. The man was leading, and those relationships were the shit we dream about. 80% of every other man is being tolerated, which makes perfect sense if you look back for those that are divorced and all that in your relationship and how your woman treated you. Did she treat you with love, with respect? Did the bedroom fun dry out? Was she stepping all over your authority? All the shit we talk about. That all stems from the fact that you were tolerated and you didn't even know it. And you got down on one knee thinking this was the one, my unicorn, and the entire time you were getting played for a fool. She didn't take the mask off and trick you after the ring. You were blinded by your dick and you couldn't see it. That's the brutal truth. Men don't swallow this red pill until they've been brutally wrecked post-divorce and see everything for what it really is. The charade around them falls apart because they're no longer thinking with their dick. They're finally thinking with their head, clearly. It sucks that a lot of dudes have to go through this because they were basically indoctrinating the blue pill spiel of like happy wife, happy life and putting women first and putting her on the pedestal. And she's a little dainty flower, very brittle and got to treat them with respect and all this shit. And it's like, bro, society fed you a lie. You bought into it and you paid the price.
Distance between us just kept growing. Honestly, apart from the brief happiness his gifts brought me, I didn't feel any love for him. Eventually, I broke up with him too. At 28, I met a guy through a blind date. He was a doctor, quite handsome, and only a year older than me. This time, I thought I had finally found love and happiness. But he kept avoiding introducing me to his family. After 4 months, with some pressure from me, he finally took me to meet his father. During that meeting, his parents bombarded me with questions, which I found extremely off-putting. Later that day, his parents texted me, saying they couldn't accept me, that I wasn't a good match for their family, and accused me of only being interested in their local prize catch. I felt insulted and humiliated, so I left the relationship decisively. By the time I was 30, I started to panic, afraid that I wouldn't be able to get married. I often cried in secret, went on endless blind dates, signed up for multiple dating websites, and met numerous people on weekends. But I realized I had lost the ability to love anyone. I wasn't interested in anyone, didn't feel like talking to anyone, and ignored most of the people who added me on WeChat because there were just too many. With my demanding job, I didn't have the time or energy for it all. I knew I wasn't bad myself, a master's graduate with a stable job in a public institution, but I just couldn't find the right person.
Yeah, it was bad because you're now 30, past your prime. Your job is irrelevant to men that you're looking at, especially think about that doctor she's talking about. He doesn't care what the woman's earning. The parents thought you were in a match because you're probably a brat. You were talking back, saying some horrible answers to the questions they were having, weren't being polite. Didn't look like you were going to cater to their son. And of course, he was their prize catch. He's the gem of the family. He's a doctor. You better be catering to their son. Now, you showed even a glimmer of not catering, they already denied your ass. And you ended up breaking up, and you say it's because you wanted to decisively end it, but the family rejected you. So you had no recourse anyways. You didn't break up. The family rejected you. That's what happened there. And then you moved on, try to date so many people, and your excuse now is coping, saying like all Western women and boss babes, my job is so demanding. No, dude, you're in a cubicle. You're a wage cuck. You're a slave for a corporation or the state entity you work for. You have no independence. If you lost your job tomorrow, you would starve to death. You are a financial cuck. There is no strong boss babe. There's no independent. You're not a boss of anybody. You take orders and directions and you clock in and clock out for lunch. You're nothing. You're just a cog in the machine. So enough with that boss babe independent talk and self-serving and I have this big job I'm working for. No, you're nothing and a nobody. You earn a company money and you're using that as a crux for why you can't find a man. Oh, because I'm so busy. My love life is just it's second place to my career. What career? Are you going to be CEO one day? Are you working your way up to the board? You have a clear path to that corner office? No, the answer is you don't. Most people don't. So then it's not a career. It's just a dead end job. And it's taking away from your ability to find a mate, a partner that would be with you for life, help you raise a family, would take care of you. Instead, you want to chase the dead end job instead of the unlimited potential of having a family. This is where they got played. This is what the women in the West don't understand. You're chasing, you don't have a career. You have a dead end job that you're slaving away for, that's taking away from the potential of having unlimited happiness, unlimited potential in a family unit with a man who can focus on earning while you focus on raising children. They don't know though, bro. They argue against their own self-interest.
Person. The good men all thought I was too old. By 32, fewer people
Shocker.
were introducing me to potential partners, and the ones they did were either much older or divorced with kids, which I couldn't accept. The few with decent conditions lived too far away or were too old. The
Shocker.
ones who seemed suitable didn't show any interest in me. At 35, I became even more anxious, even desperate. Women have a biological clock, and I was worried that having children too late would be physically taxing, or that by the time my child was grown I would be too old, or worse, not even around. I became so anxious that I was willing to rush into marriage, even a quick one. So I started considering divorced men, but only if they didn't have children. I was adamant about that, no kids, and I didn't want to deal with children. I know it sounds selfish, but I had my limits. At that point, I regretted my past decisions, feeling like everyone I met when I was younger was better than the ones I was meeting now. Eventually, fed up with my family constantly pressuring me to get married, I ended up with a man 10 years older than me who had been divorced. He earned 200,000 yuan a year, smoked, drank, and gambled. I couldn't stand it. We fought every day and
See, and I've always said this, you gotta accept the fact that the only men you're going to have are the bottom of the barrel. Now, I don't know how much 200,000 yuan is a year in relative to the rest of the Chinese, if that's considered high income or not. Maybe someone in the comment section clarify that. But smoking, drinking, gambling, like dude has problems. He was a divorced dude with problems. That's all you have to choose from. Divorced dudes. Like imagine that. Imagine the quality, man. It's like the candy store analogy where you're used to having all the best Swiss chocolates and then you walk in there one day, post 35, 40, and the only things you could have is like the nasty wrappers on the floor with little bits of chocolate that cockroaches are already eating. And it's like, but I'm used to the Swiss chocolates. And well, Father Time said, no, you're off the carousel, smashed it to the wall. And now he's saying you get the wrappers with the cockroaches on it.
And I had to help take care of his son on weekends. I couldn't take it anymore and broke up with him too.
And he had a kid, so she even had to fall back on the whole no kids thing.
Now at 40, I'm still single. My family has stopped pressuring me and just lets me live as I want. Reflecting on my past, I wish I could go back to being 20 and start over, cherish the people who loved me and those I loved. I've missed out on so much. In this vast sea of people in these unfamiliar cities, if you meet someone who is willing to exchange true feelings, you must do everything to hold on to them and not let go. This is a 40-year-old single woman who sat with me for 2 hours, sharing her 10 years of blind date experiences. She told me she regretted it. After hearing her story, I felt deeply moved. I share this with you in the first person, hoping that those of you who are currently embarking on the journey of blind dating can learn from her experience, and I wish all those in love can eventually find happiness together. When I got into college, I was the pride of my entire town.
Well, that's a cool story, bro. If you want to watch the rest of this, because the stories are going to be the same. It's just actions have consequences. I don't want to deal with the accountability of my actions. I mean, what the fuck is new in the world? You had all the power in your 20s and you screwed it away, wasting time, trying to pick the highest apple in the tree, fell a bunch of times, and now you can't even, you're too old to climb the tree to get even the low-hanging fruit. You got to get the rotten ones off the ground. It is what it is, bro. I don't make the rules. You have all this power. Men have power later. We're supposed to use it when we're both peaking. Now, you could be a toad and cry about this all day, or you could warn people about what's going to happen. So at least this one's choosing to warn people. This is a warn. The women in the West should be watching this because the Chinese are far more pragmatic and brutally honest. You know, we like to feed people bullshit and delusions here in the West. We can't tell them the truth because hurt feelings, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's like the complete opposite, bro. People rather be stick to death than hear the truth. It's pathetic. And they're going to all end up like this. This is why all the financial firms, all those boys on Wall Street are already getting their investments lined up for a world where most women will be single, childless, with no man. I mean, golly, can you imagine the explosion in these fertility treatment companies and all this other shit that will be needed? Sperm banks, all this stuff, surrogacy. It's going to be insane looking at the future. Life is a cruel teacher. She loves to give you the test first and the lesson later. Beautifully said. If you enjoy episodes like this, drop a sub, comment below what you think. And if you're looking for more self-improvement content, things to do to get out of these predicaments, how to get ahead in life, what path to go down, or how to even build your own path, find your future and the dreams therein, subscribe over on the second channel. Take a peek if you like it. Join the private community. Have some conversations with me directly and the group as a whole. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. See you later, everybody.